What if your thoughts aren't really yours? Most people believe that thoughts are created inside the brain, that every idea, fear, dream, or memory is produced by electrical activity locked inside the skull. But what if that isn't completely true? What if the brain is not the creator of thought, but the receiver of it? Imagine for a moment that your mind is less like a machine and more like an antenna, an invisible receiver constantly tuning into signals that already exist around you. Suddenly, everything changes, because if thoughts are signals, then the question is no longer, what am I thinking? The real question becomes, what am I connected to? Think about how strange thoughts really are. A random memory appears out of nowhere. A sudden fear enters your mind without warning. An idea arrives in seconds and completely changes your life. You didn't plan it. You didn't consciously build it. It simply appeared, almost like something whispered it into your mind. For centuries, philosophers, mystics, and even scientists have questioned where thoughts truly come from. Some believed human consciousness is connected to something much larger than the individual self, a field, a collective mind, an invisible network of information flowing through reality itself, and maybe they were not entirely wrong. Because the more deeply we study consciousness, the stranger it becomes. Your brain contains billions of neurons firing every second. But even science still cannot fully explain how awareness itself exists. How does electricity suddenly become emotion? How does chemistry become imagination? How does matter become a voice inside your head? No one truly knows, and that mystery opens a terrifying possibility. Maybe thoughts are not born inside us at all. Maybe we are constantly swimming through an ocean of mental energy, selecting certain thoughts while ignoring others, just like a radio tuning into specific frequencies. This would explain something many people secretly experience. Have you ever entered a room and suddenly felt anxious for no reason? Have you ever spoken to someone who filled your mind with negativity, even when they said nothing directly harmful? Or maybe you've noticed that certain places make you feel peaceful, creative, inspired, or strangely emotional. It is almost as if thoughts and emotions exist beyond the individual person. Almost as if the human mind is connected to invisible currents moving all around us. And if that is true, then most people are living completely unconsciously, because they believe every thought inside their head belongs to them. But not every thought deserves to be trusted. Some thoughts are simply noise. Some are echoes of fear, absorbed from society. Others are inherited from childhood trauma, family patterns, or emotional wounds, and some may come from the collective emotional state of humanity itself. Fear spreads, anger spreads, panic spreads. Why? Because consciousness influences consciousness. Humans constantly affect one another in ways we barely understand. One fearful person can change the emotional energy of an entire room. One calm person can do the same. That is why your environment matters more than you think. The people you listen to, the content you consume, the conversations you repeat, the emotions you feed every day. All of these shape the mental frequencies you tune into, and eventually, those frequencies begin shaping your reality. Because thoughts are not harmless. Every action begins as a thought. Every habit begins as a thought. Every life begins moving in the direction of the thoughts repeated most often. A person who constantly focuses on fear starts seeing danger everywhere. A person obsessed with failure begins unconsciously creating it. A person who believes life is hopeless slowly loses the ability to recognize opportunity. The mind becomes a magnet. Whatever you emotionally feed grows stronger. This is why two people can live in the same world but experience completely different realities. One sees beauty, the other sees suffering. One sees possibility, the other sees limitation. The external world may be identical, but the internal signal is different, and the signal changes everything. Now, here is where things become even more interesting. If thoughts behave like frequencies, then focus becomes power, because attention is energy. Whatever you repeatedly focus on tells the mind, this matters. And once the brain believes something matters, it begins searching for more of it. That is why fear multiplies when you obsess over it. That is why gratitude expands when you practice it. That is why people trapped in negativity often feel unable to escape it. They are unconsciously tuning into the same emotional frequency every single day, again and again, thought after thought, emotion after emotion, until the signal becomes their identity. But identity can change, because you are not forced to accept every thought that enters your mind. This may be one of the most important realizations a human being can have. You are not your first thought. You are not every fear that appears. You are not every dark image your mind creates. A thought only gains power when you accept it, believe it, and act on it. That is the moment it becomes part of your reality. This is why mental discipline matters. Not because you can stop thoughts completely. You cannot. The flow never truly stops, but you can choose what deserves your attention. You can decide which thoughts deserve energy and which ones should simply pass through like clouds in the sky. Most people never learn this. They become prisoners of every emotion that enters them. Every fear controls them. Every impulse directs their actions, and eventually they stop living consciously. They simply react. But conscious people operate differently. They observe their thoughts before accepting them. They ask, where did this come from? Does this thought make me stronger or weaker? Is this fear actually true? Is this thought helping me create the life I want? That small pause changes everything, because awareness breaks automatic control. The moment you become aware of your thoughts, you stop being completely controlled by them. And over time, you begin changing your inner frequency. You become calmer, clearer, more intentional. You stop feeding chaos. And strangely, reality itself often begins changing with you. Not magically, but psychologically. Because when your internal world changes, your decisions change, your energy changes, your habits change, your relationships change, and eventually your life changes too. This is why protecting your mind is one of the most important things you can do. Most people carefully protect their money, their possessions, their social image, but they allow toxic voices unlimited access to their minds. They consume fear every day, violence, hatred, constant comparison, endless negativity. Then they wonder why anxiety controls their lives. The mind absorbs everything, and whatever enters repeatedly leaves a mark. This is why silence is powerful. In silence, you finally hear which thoughts are truly yours, and which ones were placed there by the world around you. Most people are terrified of silence because silence reveals the chaos they normally distract themselves from. But silence is where clarity begins. It is where you stop reacting to every external signal. And for the first time, you begin consciously choosing your inner world. Now imagine what would happen if someone truly mastered this ability. Imagine waking up without immediately absorbing fear from the internet, social media, or other people. Imagine being able to observe negative thoughts without becoming emotionally consumed by them. Imagine consciously choosing focus, peace, purpose, and direction every day. That person would become incredibly powerful because they would no longer be controlled by every emotional wave passing through society. They would become the author of their own mind, and eventually, the author of their own reality. This may be why some people seem almost impossible to break. They still experience pain, they still face difficulty, but they do not allow every dark thought to become truth. They choose carefully which thoughts deserve belief, and that choice shapes their destiny. So the next time a thought enters your mind, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, did I create this, or did I simply receive it? And more importantly, do I want to give this thought power? Because thoughts are seeds. Some grow into fear, some grow into destruction, and some grow into entirely new worlds. The choice is not whether thoughts will appear. The choice is which ones you will bring to life. Because in the end, every reality begins with a thought.